Whew. Yes, we are live. We are live. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, just giving a few people a chance to get on here before we get started. For those of you that are joining us, we definitely appreciate you joining us. I know y'all used to Jill and I going live a little later this evening, but I'm glad that when you saw the notification, you took the time to jump on. I think you guys are going to be very intrigued today. We got something a little bit different than what you normally get from Jill and myself, and something that really we've been needing to do for a long time. But you're definitely going to get an opportunity to get some good information from us today, and what's going to be discussed. With that said, I'm not going to prolong this any. I do want to say this tonight. For those of you that are part of our platform, tonight, Jill and I normally go live and or normally have a premiere coming out at 8 o'clock. That will not happen tonight. Instead, this is a special weekend, special day. We got a special group of guys on here. We're going to be doing a little discussion that we're going to have, and we want to give this to you. Okay, so please sit back, put your seatbelt on, and just enjoy the evening. Please put any type of comments that you might have, any questions you might have in the chat. We're going to do our best to get to those questions before the end of this discussion. And I will say this, for those of you, again, that are with our platform, we're God-ordained Union. My name is Terence Smith. And for anything that you need regarding a God-ordained Union, just go to our site at God-ordained Union. You definitely know you can get there from looking at our calendar to looking at whatever it is we got going on coming up, for anything that you want, for whatever that is, whether it's getting in the private group, whether it's getting the one-on-one, whatever that is, where it is. Y'all been with us for a while. You've been rocking with us. Anybody that's new, just put your questions and comments in the chat, and we'll definitely get an answer to you as quick as we can. But with that being said, I want to introduce to you two individuals, and just to show you how great God is. We've been doing this platform, Jill and I, for a while. And over the years, we've met so many people. And just recently, one of you actually liked what you've heard to the point where you sent it out to another platform. Okay. And when you did, you actually told that platform that they should check Jill and I out, or God-ordained Union out. And they did. And when they did, they actually saw an opportunity to meet us, to reach out to us, and they did. And because of that, I had a chance to meet one of these gentlemen. And that guy's name is Kevin Brown. Okay. Now, I'm gonna give you a much deeper introduction in just a minute. But with that being said, once Kevin and I and his wife and Jill and I, and we got together and we talked, we conversed a little bit, we decided, Kevin and I, that, we'd like to join forces and do something together for the men. And in doing so, Kevin had another partner that he reached out to. And that guy said, look, I love to join as well. I love to be a part of this. And so that introduced me to Mike Sears. So the three of us have come together tonight to just have a discussion about men, okay, about love, about relationships, but more importantly, about our journey to getting to where we are now, okay? And the reason why that's important, and the reason why we thought that was important, is because of what we have in common. But before I go into that, I want y'all to see these, listen to these numbers that I pulled up for you, okay? Now, in the United States, back in 2023, okay, out of all adults aging 25 to 54, 39% of men were not married. That's in 2023. That was in 2023. Okay. Now, during that same year, men that were from ages 51 to 63 weren't even in a romantic relationship or wasn't even married at all. Okay. With that being said, as of last year, 2025, out of all men who had been married and then later got divorced, okay, about 2/3 of those people, 2/3 of those men, which is about 66%, decided to remarry. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Here's the thing. Out of all of that number, out of that 66%, there are several categories that were participating in this, okay? And the categories are white Americans, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans. Then there was another group called Asian Americans and other groups. They combine all of them to make that one group. With that being said, out of these four groups of men that were married before and got divorced and were decided that they are willing to remarry or got remarried, Black American men is the least in those four categories. Which means if a Black man in America gets married, the chances of him remarrying, if he ever got divorced, is very, very low. Which brings us to the guys that I'm bringing to you today. The reason why we're here today is because the one thing we have in common is the three of us are married now, but we were all married before and got divorced, and we were open to the idea of remarrying. So with that, I want to say, I want to welcome to the stage with me Kevin Brown and Mike Sears. Gentlemen, how y'all doing?
What is going on, family? How y'all doing?
Hey, brothers. Brothers, how's it going? How's it going?
Hey,
Man, it's so good to see you guys. And look, people don't realize, I think, how rare it is in America for Black men to remarry, which is why this is so huge. Because if we can even figure out, what led us up this, this journey of being almost like a dinosaur, so to speak, when it comes to how rare this actually happens, maybe we can find a common thread of why men don't get married at all.
Absolutely. I think you're on to something.
Yes, sir. So what I want to do is, like I said before, Kevin reached out to Jill and I, him and his wife, and said, hey, a person from your platform said we should check y'all out. And they did. And that's how we met. And we had a conversation, looked at their videos. We had a few Zoom calls where we kind of had a chance to converse a little bit. And then Kevin reached out to Mike and said, hey, here's what's going on, boom, boom. And Mike was, in favor and willing to join. And so the three of us got together and here we are. And so what I like to do is give you guys first the opportunity to actually give yourself the justice of introducing yourselves, because you know more about your backgrounds than I do. Not necessarily going to your story yet, but just share, whatever channel, you're about right now, what you're doing and so forth. And then once we do that, then I want to give you guys a chance to kind of go into your story a little bit about your journey from divorce to loving again. So let's start off with Kevin. If you would just share with us your background, your channel you and your wife has, what you guys are doing, and then we'll go from there.
yeah. Hey, what's going on, family? How y'all doing? Let me say, nice of you to be here. Nice of you to be here. We're originally from the US, but I am now living in the UK with my wife, Davina. And we have a channel it's called Speaking of the Browns. I'll put it here in the chat for you guys. Actually, it was a viewer that this thing started. I don't know if she was part of you guys' channel, Terrence and Jill, but she reached out to us and said that she made a comment about I need to check you guys. We need to check you guys. I went to the channel. I said, "Wow, I feel like it's my brother and my sister right there. I need to message them." And so that's what I did. I messaged them, and then that's how me and Terrence got to talking and things like that. But I've been knowing Mike for years, and yeah, so me and Davina, we got married in 23. Um, After my divorce, and moved here in 23 as well. That's a story in itself. And the channel is Speaking Life of the Browns, and you can go there. We told our story over there or what have you. But yeah, I'm just a little taste of what's happening before we get into everything. That's a little bit about me. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Make it real short. Make it real short. Just
No
not
doubt.
taste.
No doubt. No doubt. But Mike, how you doing, sir?
I am well. Happy to be on with you, brothers. Excited about this opportunity to just share. Again, my name is Mike Sears. I'm also known as Mr. Malfunction, the White Guy. So I'm a public speaker, author, and a high performance execution strategist.
That's awesome.
Which is just a fancy word for really helping people execute better in their life. Find their purpose and then actually start performing in their purpose. I believe if we all are working in the areas that we were birthed here to do, the world would just be altogether a better place. My background is in entertainment as well as education. I've worked in both fields simultaneously throughout the majority of my career, and have an extreme passion for our young people and our youth. And I love being able to also story tell in various formats of entertainment. Thus being a speaker, being an author, working in music, theater, and now some film and TV stuff. So that's just a little bit about me and what I do.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's awesome. So here's what I want to share. Because like I said, we have something in common. I'm gonna share mine first, and actually I'm gonna let y'all share first because I want to be able to make sure I jot down some things that they may be putting in the chat that we might want to touch on later. But if you will, and since we just ended with you, Mike, how about you go first, if you would, please, sir? Just share with us, being that Black men in America don't really get remarried. Could you go through your journey from the time you was divorced to the time where you actually in your mind and in your heart said, you know what, I'll be willing to do this again?
Sure. Well, if I'm being honest, being a God-fearing man, faith being my foundation, I realized even prior to going into marriage that marriage is something that God ordained. And so
Yes, sir.
it's something that, God designed. It's something that he set up. He set up the parameters for it to work. And so I kind of felt like, and I've always felt like, which, allowed me to love again, is that marriage and the ideal of marriage is something that works. It just didn't work for me. And part of it is because of how I approached it and some of the things that I did. Not gonna point the finger, not gonna, place blame on the other individual because, there's always two to tangle, right? So, the marriage was it wasn't a long marriage. It was almost over before it started, and it was really messy, and it ended really bad. But even in that, I still have no ill will against the person, and we've been able to have conversation, since. However, once it ended, it was extremely painful. Um, there was a sense of embarrassment, feeling like you failed, You
Mm.
know, feeling like you miss God again. How do you say you're a man of faith, a God-fearing man, and you say, I heard from God and I know I'm supposed to be with this person, and then you're not with them anymore. And so that then, just the thought of, what did I do? How did I do? How did I end up in this place? And again, a lot, if I'm being honest, a lot of it was on me doing what I wanted to do. And so uh I know this ain't gospel truth at all, but Mary in the book of Mary J. Blige in the song, she had she said, all I want to do is be happy. One of the lyrics said, when you think you're in love, you only see what you want to see. So a lot of times, you go into relationships, and I'm just talking about me, thinking, hey, it's good because I want it to be good. So you ignore all the things that's not right. You ignore God. You pretty much anything that goes against what you want, I ignored. So um what happened though at the end, and not getting into, like you asked me not to, getting into all of the details of the marriage and the failed marriage. Um After leaving out of the marriage, June 2010, 2000 and no, yeah, June uh, 2010, June 30th was the date the divorce was final. Um, Again, it was a process. Part of that process was I really had some good people around me that encouraged me. I had friends that just, without even asking what was going on or what was happening, hey, let's just go out of town. You know, don't worry about nothing. I'm gonna just take you out of town. Let's just, one of them said something to the matter of, just breathe some different air. That was extremely helpful. Another friend, hey, let's go to the show, or hey, come by. But those things were extremely helpful. Then internally, um, so having good people in my corner, praying, not asking questions, even family, not worried about, hey, what happened, what's going on, just, are you okay? And I just want to make sure you're okay. So that was a part of my process. Internally, um, I figured, hey, I still desired love. I still desired marriage, because again, I was under the impression and the belief that it's God ordained. Like, God don't make mistakes. God knows what He's doing. So if it didn't work, it wasn't that marriage didn't work. I didn't apply the principles properly to make it work. And so, still very interested. But what I did very differently than I did the time before is I waited. I,
Mm.
I waited. I wasn't in a rush. I wasn't in a hurry. I took some time to spend some time with me. I started inwardly looking at, well, what does Mike really like to do? Because when you're in a relationship, most times you're in a relationship to please the other person. Oh, what you want to watch on TV, or what you want to go see, what you want to eat. So everything is about that other individual. And sometimes when you haven't had enough time to sit with yourself, you don't know who you are. You don't know what you want. And so I was able to process. I dated myself, if you would. I went to the movies by myself. I went to dinner by myself. I did the things that I wanted to do. I started looking the way that I wanted to look based upon, this is what I like. This is what I want. And then I spent a lot more time with God. And in that, it was just me refining, basically stripping away all of the things that I was doing that wasn't right. And He just literally rebuilt me. And it wasn't until um, 2019, 20. So in between that time, I did date. So it was about 10 years before so my current wife and I will be married in 5 years, August 1st of this year. So we got married in 2021. I met her 2019. Like I said, I'm in I work in entertainment, and I was hired to be the stage manager for a production that she was an actress on. And when I met her, again, I was just doing a job. She was doing her job as an actress. I was doing my job as a stage manager. I was actually dating someone else. And so throughout this process of time, from 2010 all the way until the time that I met her, I was in relationships. I dated, but what I did differently is I asked God going into it and coming out of it. God, is this what you want? Okay, I'm trying this. I'm dating. I'm trying to figure it out. But if it's any inkling of anything that doesn't line up with you, then I don't want it. And literally, one after another. It wasn't a lot of dating, but whoever I dated, if it wasn't in line, if it didn't work, if it wasn't gonna work, if it wasn't right, he wouldn't allow me to take it any further. And so, my current wife, again, when I met her, I was actually in a relationship with someone else. That relationship it ended. I ended up with a relationship with someone else, and uh, when we were dating, we decided not to date exclusively, which I was okay with it because again, I'm just trying to do things differently than what I had done in the past. And it just so happened, um, we had kept in contact after that particular stage play, and I'm wrapping this up too. After that stage play, and we were just friends, just kind of communicating, via social media channels and such. And it just so happened that uh, I asked her to go on a date. This was it was around Valentine's Day. The person that I was actually dating, I took her out on Valentine's Day, but it was something I took her to do what she wanted to do, which was cool. But I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I was figuring out, hey, should I ask this person or should I ask somebody else? I ended up asking my now wife to go out to a movie. First I asked her if she was dating anybody. She was like, did she have any plans for Valentine's Day weekend? And she was like, what you mean, Singles Awareness Day? I was like, okay, whatever you call it. Anyway, we went out and it was just that one date. After that date, I mean, it was fine. We went to the movies. I didn't take her out to dinner afterwards because I was tired. But also after the date, I feel like, okay, I don't want to pursue anything hard again if it's not the right thing. Month later, COVID hit. Some things happened, in our personal lives, and just we circled back. And I remember literally asking God, okay, I've been trying to do this on my own, trying to do it out of, what I can see, kind of like, uh, the next king of Israel being chosen, looking for that David, you choose Saul, and then he said, go to Jesse's house. I'm like, God, I'm looking at the outward appearance, the heart. It's like, give me your best. And he showed me my now wife. And I was like, I'm like, you sure? Cause I don't want to mess this up. And literally from the time that, I asked her out again, and we started communicating, and we started dating and talking. We've been on ever since. And I will leave you with this. No, it has not been perfect, but it has definitely been God ordained. Meaning, we've been able to work through the imperfections, and we're doing it. We're building this thing together, and that's what He showed me at the beginning of it. It's like He showed me that you're going to build the relationship that you want. It's not going to come prepackaged. It's not going to come ready made where you just pop it in and it's done. It's like, no, you're going to add the ingredients. You're going to mix it up. You're going to put it together. You're going to do it together. And when it comes out, the finishing of it will be what you prayed for and what you desire. But you're going to definitely be a part of the process. And so that's what we've been doing. And it's been a beauty. It's been a joy. And I believe it's been everything that God, ordained and wanted it to be from the beginning.
Wow. You said some things that I want to just reiterate because I think, and one though is I think was really, really, and we're talking about why men don't remarry or why Black men don't remarry. I heard you say embarrassed.
Man.
And that resonated with me because and I'm gonna share that in my story, but you said embarrassment, and I thought that's a strong word right there. You said hurtful. You used the word ownership. But then you just said something that I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, and that is build the relationship or the marriage you want.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
you know what? You're absolutely right. It don't come pre-packaged. It don't come
Man.
with the end result in the beginning. It's something we got to
No.
work on. So I think that is a very, very big point to that's almost a video in itself.
Yeah.
Just talking about
Man.
what that even looks like for people to
Yeah.
even be able to visualize how that can even be possible.
And I just real quick, I visually there's a painting. I've seen it before, but there's a restaurant I'll go to, and the painting it's a man and a woman, and they're literally chiseling each other out
Oh
the
wow.
way that they see each other, or the way that they want each other to be. Like, a chisel and a hammer, chisel in one hand, hammer in the other, and they're literally carving each other out. And that's visually what I saw going into this relationship.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Kevin, my man,
Yes.
it's your turn to share your story, and then we're going to keep it moving.
Right. So, my story is you like that, right? That was good. Yo, man, just hearing that, um, a lot of men probably was kind of like dealing with
Kevin, you going in and out?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it sounds like it's going in and out just a little bit.
All right, let me try to change something up here.
I want them to hear everything you got to say.
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Am I good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Back. Okay. So I go to mine. So I was previously married before for like 20 years, maybe been 21, I must say. And I tell you, being married that long, you don't look for it to end. You don't look for that to be the end of marriage, especially when you've been with somebody for like, I would say, the 30 some years and married for like 20. I didn't go into the marriage for it to just fail. I went in because I thought it was going to be a long time. It was not going to be ever over. And the divorce was not my decision. Just to clear it away, wasn't my decision. Um, so after that, how do you deal with going through a divorce after being married for 20 some years? And just to say, I was not saved. I didn't have any relationship with them when we did it. It was married before. I ended up getting saved in the marriage. The other person did not get saved, did not want them. So that right there was like another thing. So after that, I knew I needed something deeper. I knew I needed God even more in my life. Because from that, easily, I could have been so broken up, so beat down, didn't want to be around anybody else. And I've heard other men saying they done with women and all this other stuff, right? That wasn't my case. That wasn't my case. Even though it happened to me, it didn't mean the emotional impact for me was not. I felt like I was lost. No. Was it confusion? No. In that sense, getting divorced, it becomes confusion. Then it's like you can question yourself. What did I do? Did I really mess this up? And like Mike was saying, I can't place the blame on the party because I had involvement too, because it was twos. So I had involvement as well. You can look at some things like, I could have changed that. Maybe I could have did that a little different. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Well, how about you should have did this way? But I'm just gonna tell you, I got saved, my whole life changed. I'm still seeing things differently. I was so consumed in what the Lord wanted for me, I couldn't see anything else. It was like I was like straight going for what he I wanted him so bad. It was ridiculous. And I just couldn't get off of it. My whole everything about me changed. The night I got saved, everything stopped. I used to, let me tell you, I used to drink a beer. I wasn't a heavy drinker or anything like that. I used to drink a beer. I would cut my grass or what have you. Maybe I go out occasionally and stuff like that. Um, Pretty movies and things like that. All that stuff ended. It wasn't like I was asking for it to end. It ended. I had no desire for it. And just think about the other person who still had these desires to do these things and I had no desire to do it whatsoever. And it's like, how do you go through that? It's like all these different things. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to deal with this. And then I could look at myself and like, you know what? Maybe I should have participated. And I did. And it wasn't working. It was not working for me whatsoever. But just to say, I didn't condemn nobody. I didn't try to change anybody. I didn't try to do any of that stuff. Um, but the Lord was dealing with me in a different way. He was really different dealing with me. And then this is where a lot of us, when you was talking about those statistics, that's where a lot of us men we get stuck in that area because we don't after this divorce, it could have been a fear of not trusting anybody again, any women, or trying to deal with that again. So you go on this dating spree and not wanting to do that. For me, it was different. It was different for me. What I did was I said, you know what? Instead of me shutting down and saying, can't do this, I don't want to deal with no women no more. I said, Lord, I want to know what's going on here. I need help and I need you to help me. I need you to help me to deal with this. I don't want to do this alone. Neither do I want to be alone. And you know what? I asked him for a healed heart. He said, Lord, I want a healed heart. He said, I want you to help me to see how you see. Because I don't want to look at nobody different. I don't want to be blaming anybody. And I don't want to see myself as a loser, which could have easily happened, but it didn't. I just went deeper in him. I went more for what I can see in him and what he wanted me to see and how he wanted me to be and who he wanted me to be. And that's what I want. So after that, I said, hey then, Lord, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. So we went through this, I went through the whole divorce thing. But at the same time, the Lord was healing me. He was healing me at the same time. I said, Lord, I need you to heal me. And I tell you, family, that whole thing was like amazing. It was amazing. I didn't shrink back. I didn't draw back from people. I didn't try to hide myself. I didn't try to go out and just be wild and whatever. No. Yeah, I had peace. Yeah. I slept good. I was still around people. There was there was there was one part of me. There was one part that happened, and I got angry at one point. Now, why would I get angry? Because of what happened. I got angry, and I remember the Lord saying to me, because I'm telling you, I was really really upset. It was at a point where I wanted to do something. He told me, Kevin, don't do this. Why don't you go home? He said, don't worry about this. Just go home. And from there, I said, wow. So now walk me through this whole process. We told a story on the channel um, about how I was in this group, and it was a kingdom entrepreneurship group. And this is like a group of, you know, saved people, kingdom people doing business God's way. And that's how I got led to that group because of I saw something when I started for something I asked him for. He drew me to this, and I've never seen it before. But when I opened up Facebook, I saw it. I was like, this life just everything I used to look for, it happened. It was right there. And so I'm chilling. After that, that's when everything started working out better for me. I mean, it was so much clearer. And even when I was doing that, I wasn't asking him for a wife. I was asking him for a healed heart. I wanted him to help me. And one day he started telling me he had something for me. He said, I got something for you. I said, all right, cool. That's good. That's good. That's right. And it's like I said, Lord, but I still got so much love in me. I don't think I want to be alone after this. He said, okay, okay, you don't have to be. But I didn't want just another marriage. I didn't want just another partner. First, I wanted to be home. That's what he did for me. But I told him, I said, Lord, I want a wife. If I'm gonna get married again, because I'm not giving out on love. I'm not. I'm not doing it. I said, but if we get married again, I want a wife who has your heart. Because if she has your heart, she'll know how to love, and she'll know how to love me. She'll know what love is. Because you love her. She'll give you heart. So it will be important to me. Because I feel like I didn't have that before. I didn't have that because, like I said, it wasn't saved when it got me. But in the middle of it, it's when it was saved. So after all this stuff was going on, me being healed, me being made whole, me seeing how God is seeing, how He's leading me, where He's taking me, I didn't let what happened reject another person, or I didn't let it project fear on me of seeing somebody else or wanting to be with somebody else. I didn't feel it didn't self condemnation because of what I did, what my part was. Neither did I blame the other person. I can't do that. So it could have been easily I could have said, um, I'm a failure. And I've been married for this long and I failed. I failed. It was nothing like that. I mean, those thoughts didn't even enter my mind. My first thought was, Lord, I need you. That's my first thought. Because I didn't it's in the head. It's like that's all I wanted, really. He showed me how to love differently. He showed me how to love differently. He showed me how to see differently. He showed me how to act differently. He showed me how to be a better husband, a better father. He showed me all these things. And from that, if I'm gonna be honest, that really showed me that really helped me stepped up my game. Helped me step it up because like failure was not actually a failure. It's actually something that came with me until we were in and came with me until we were alone to be a brand new me. You know, I said, he said, you know what? This about to be the best years of my life. This new half is going to be the best half of my life. It's gonna be the best half of my life. I'm telling you, this time, getting remarried, this time, it wasn't me just, how you go to the altar and, you have this with, you're inviting God into the marriage and things like that. That's what it was like the first time. This time, God was leading this one. He led this one. He led me to my new wife now. He led me to everything that I was going to be experiencing. He let me live that the period where it could be it was so dark. He let me into so much light, so bright. And I'm telling you, it was wonderful. This is a straight up God ordained marriage. It's straight God ordained marriage. And it's been great. It's been great since. I end up moving, moving from the US to the UK. I don't know how many people do it, especially men, would leave their hometown, leave their country to go to another country. But I end up doing it because I know the Lord was leading me somewhere. I know He's leading me somewhere. And He said, wherever you tell me to go, I'm going. It's not going to be not wanting to go and pushing back. I'm going. And it's been wonderful ever since. He's been taking good care of us. We have started uh, our Wednesday circle and everything together. We've been doing this business together, and it's been wonderful. It was something I always wanted it, and now I have it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And look, I know your story, and I hope that some of you get a chance to hear his story, pretty soon. But him and his wife has a very powerful story. But I want to point out something that you said also that is also in common with what Mike said. Okay, because I think we're running a theme is starting to show itself, and that is one that neither one of you chose to point fingers. You actually just decided to work on, allow God to work on you. And that's powerful in itself, because it sounds like God may not have been as involved with the previous as he is with the new marriage. So that's a lesson in itself. You also said that, you prayed for, or you told God you wanted a wife with his heart, so she would know how to love you. So I love that. I love the fact that you both went with the personal rebuilding, because, as I share my story, I think that's the one thing that one of the things the three of us also have in common is our perspective on how we looked at where we were. So, and I'm not going to take long, because I want to make sure I get to the chat and let them put some questions in there for us. But just quickly, just so you can see the link between the three of us, of course, I used to be married. And when that marriage was over, I agree with the same description that Mike gave. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing because we had been together for so long. It just was embarrassing for me not to be able to associate myself with that union any longer. And at the time, we had kids. I got, twins. So that also was embarrassing, because that really took it out of me not being able to see my kids when I wanted to, or the way that I was seeing them before when I was married, which was every day. But I say all that to say, I went through the same type of journey of really trying to discover me. I wanted to get me back. I realized, and I didn't know it at the time because I didn't use that word at the time, but what I realized was when my marriage ended and me not having my kids every day, that was where my identity was. And I didn't know that at the time, that identity was a word that I needed to associate myself to when it comes to not knowing who I was. So, and then I did the thing that you guys did. I got saved. And when I got saved and started reading the word and started praying and talking to God in the way that I did, I started to learn, because he started to reveal some things to me. And as he started to reveal some things, I learned that there was a whole nother level of love that I didn't even know existed. But I learned that you can't even, ascend to that love unless you have God. And that changed things for me. But at the time, I still wasn't thinking about getting remarried. I was just thinking about learning who I was, how to be the best that I could be for me, to get me back, and to get back to that positive, always laughing, always having fun type of person. And then I joined a person got introduced to me and introduced me then to an industry called network marketing. And I joined this company. and I'm going to all these events. You know, they used to have like maybe 3 or 4 events a year where we go to these regional and national events and so forth. And I'd always watch the men that were walking across the stage. And after a couple years, something started to stand out to me. The guys that were having all the success were all up there with the wife on their arms. And I started saying, wait a minute, hold up. There's something about marriage that I didn't know, that I need to look into that and find out what's going on. And that's when I started actually learning from, because one of my cousins that I was in that company with is a minister. So him and I would drive to these places or fly to these places together, and he would have this one-on-one, almost like a mentorship. He was sharing with me what the word said about marriage, about having a wife, and he'd find that the wife findeth a good thing and favor. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And he started putting things, and they start making more sense. And I started saying, yeah, that's crazy. So long story short, for me, as I started dating again, I was one of those people that was like, look, if I see this ain't going anywhere, my mindset said basically the same thing Mike said. I don't want it if it ain't going towards marriage, because I don't want to just date just for the sake of dating. I didn't want to be married just for the sake of being married. I wanted who God had for me. And everything changed for me when I prayed and said, Lord, I tried it my way. I went out, I met women, and it didn't work out. So the only common denominator that I can see is me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out the way. And if you have somebody for me, I would accept it. No questions asked. But if it's only meant to be me and you, Lord, I'm going to be okay with that too. It's just going to have to be me and you. And once I released it, and I didn't even know that was a word for me. I learned that with my wife. That's a word that she used, and I got introduced to that word by her. But when I released it to God and got out of his way is when he brought my wife into my path for me to see her. And so, like I said, I summed it up as quick as I could, as short as I could. But I tell you this, I think the thing that we have learned just by listening to y'all's 2 stories and then what I know about my own is there's a different perspective of what marriage really is and the benefits of marriage and what it does regarding your purpose and how you become fulfilled if you understand that you got to have God in your marriage. You got to include God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What are y'all takes out of the 3 stories so far that y'all heard from the 2 that wasn't your own?
Well, the God factor, and just the level of selflessness. Like we live in a world that's very selfish. Like, and what I mean by that is, if it doesn't benefit you, if it's not about you, then you don't want it. And I think in all of our stories, like that wasn't to be in a relationship, to be in another marriage. That wasn't our first. We got away from that identity. It was like, Lord, I just want you. I want to be right. I want to have peace. It was something that was more about being selfless, understanding that, I desire this, but I'm not going to do it for selfish reasons anymore. So I feel like that was a common thread as well. And then the second thing was just we all talked to God. Like we said, look, I did it my way. I want to do it your way. Help me, And I think that was center around all of us as well.
No doubt.
Yeah, that was my first thing. I said, Lord, help me with this. I need you. I need you to do this. It's gonna have to be your way. I'm just gonna get out the way. It's gonna be your way, but you got to lead me on this walk.
No doubt. No doubt. Now, so what I'm gonna do is Man, I love my wife, man. She's sitting here writing down stuff for us that's going up in the chat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the questions out that she wrote down. So the three of us, you know, and y'all can just jump in and answer these as you see fit. But the question one says, how long did it take for you to forgive after your first marriage?
For me, it was pretty. The forgiveness part was pretty immediate because understanding the word, I know forgiveness is not about the other person; it's about me. It's like I can't heal, I can't move forward until I let it go. Now, did I forget? Forgetting is that's another word. That's another F word. For the forgetting part, like, no, I still remember everything that happened and how it happened. Matter of fact, I was replaying it in my mind. But for me, forgiveness was pretty immediate because again, it wasn't about, I took responsibility for my part. So for me to be mad or, blaming or feeling like I need to hold something over your head, it wasn't gonna do nothing but hold me back. So for me, it was pretty immediate.
Okay. What
Same
about you,
here.
Kevin?
It was quick. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't blame the other part because I couldn't blame the other party because I'm like, it was both of us. That wouldn't be right because I'm like, wait a minute, I can't blame you for what you wanted and how you wanted it. So I need to forgive it, and it is for me. Forgiveness was for me. I won't be able to move on without forgiving. So just first, God forgave me. I need to move
And
on. He first forgave me. So I need to have that respect for the other party. And I say, Lord, help me to see how you see. And when I did talk to the person, I was like, you know what? Regardless of whatever, I forgive you. And I would like to know if you forgive me for what I've done. Because if you don't forgive me, I need to hear more from the Lord to find out why I'm not being forgiven. But it really didn't matter, but I just want to make sure that we are on the same of forgiveness. I'm like, I forgive you for whatever because I already know that I need that to keep moving myself on. I need to keep moving on. And it was pretty fast. It wasn't like I'm going to let this marinate to try to make somebody suffer for what they done to me or how this all went happen. No, that's no way. That was not going to happen for me. So you know what? I need to forgive this person. I need to forgive them now. I'm not letting a sleep go by, not one eyelid drop of this happening whatsoever.
Go back, Mike.
No, I'm with him. Like I said, the forgiveness, unforgiveness, you take that into the next relationship. And I'm not one for carrying baggage. I think there's always some little levels of residuals because all you have to move forward with is what you had previously. However, I didn't want anything negative or nasty to go with me. Like I wanted to leave everything where it was. And so again, forgiveness was just an easy path. Like, all right, and it was more internal for me. I don't recall having a conversation like, "Hey, I forgive you," because then maybe that would add a blame. Like, I blame you or you. It didn't matter. It's like I'm good, God good, moving on. And that's how that played out for me.
I think the forgiveness towards the other person was pretty quick for me. I think what took me so long was learning that I had to forgive myself. I didn't know that was a
That
thing
part.
either for a while. And somebody actually brought that to my attention. And I heard someone speaking one day and they said, forgiveness is for you, not for the other person. But then they said, but you also have to learn how to forgive yourself. And I was like, wow. And that's how I started to wonder, am I holding myself? And I knew I had held myself guilty of something. And even to the point where I even told myself at one time during that journey that I didn't even rate being married. I didn't deserve being remarried. So for a while, I was holding myself guilty or hostage, saying, you don't even deserve it. You know, you had it and you messed it up. But
Yeah.
I realized later that I didn't know what I was doing the first time. You know,
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing the first time. Next question. How long did you date your current wives before you proposed to them? Which one of you want to go first?
I'll go first. I'll go first. So my dating was long distance. I was long distance. My wife lived here in the UK. I was living in the US. So it was when I first proposed to her, it was maybe 5, 6 months, something like that, after I proposed. But before I did, I was talking to the Lord about it. I kept talking to him about her. I kept asking him about her because I asked him for the wife. I asked him. I didn't just go searching. I asked him. That was not me going to look. So when he presented her, like he presented Eve to Adam, he was like, that must be it. And from there, I'm talking to him while me and her were talking. We talked from the moment I called her, the initial time, we talked nonstop daily. Even though I was in the US and she was here, we didn't miss a day without talking to each other. But I didn't miss a day without talking to my Lord about her either. I was like, the communication line was pretty much open with him. Like I said, he was basically leading me into this thing. It was an amazing conversation. So I say it wasn't that long for me.
Okay. Mike?
I'm a preface what I'm gonna say first by saying, please understand that for everybody is different. You know, time, you know, it's different because it depends on the two individuals, you as an individual as well as that person. So if you all one more preference. If you ever hear my wife say I side chick Saturday her, it's lies. It's all lies. because
I know, Mike.
because I didn't know I didn't know what side chick Saturday was, and I kind of gave you the answer before. You know, I was dating someone. We went out on Valentine's Day, which just happened to be Friday.
Me to go out the day after. That's that chick Saturday, babe.
She accepted. He accepted the invitation.
I did accept because I understood that you probably had a main.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a main. We were dating. We were just friends. How whatsoever that was the preference. The answer to the question is we went out for the first time February 15th, but we didn't date it. We didn't date again.
He didn't call me. He didn't feed me.
Baby, it's my life.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. We went out. We didn't go out again until September. I called her in August to kind of see if she was dating with anybody. This was after the Lord spoke to me and was like, yeah, you know, this, you know, her. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna call. And I called. She was available. I asked her, she knew what she wanted. She was like, you want the short list or the long list? And that was something that stuck out to me because a lot of times I felt like in relationships, either I didn't know or they didn't really know what they wanted. So we in a relationship trying to figure it out. So we go out the weekend of Labor Day. I asked her to be exclusive in October, which was around Sweetest Day weekend. I proposed to her on the day she claimed that I side chick Saturday her, which was February 15th. So almost 6 months into the relationship, then we got married on August 1st. So everything happened pretty swift. It wasn't like we trimmed a lot of the fat, and even in the time that we were dating and considering marriage, we did go to counseling. You know, we sought out, spiritual advice and spiritual counseling. So we didn't just jump into it. So it seemed like it was kind of fast, but you know, we had taken a lot of time with our sales prior to, and I think it made it easier when we came together for us to decide, hey, what are we waiting for? Like, you know, I believe in this, you believe in this, we believe God is in the middle. Let's do it. So it was about a little less than a year.
Wow. And, you know, and so for me, when I first saw, let me say it this way, because it, when I first realized, well, when I first saw her, I didn't know who she was because we were long distance, but I had never seen her before. She showed up in my Facebook, and I'm trying to figure out who this woman is. It took a minute for me to even know who she was because I learned later that we hadn't even met, but because of some things that she had initiated, she showed up in my Facebook, in my DM, but she showed up as like a friend. And so I bet I stared at her picture. I bet I read her profile probably dozens of times between the time that I first saw a picture and the time that we actually DM'd each other for the first time, where I actually sent the message to her. Once I did that, she said I ghosted her for about a year. Now, I didn't know what ghosting was, so I had to actually even Google that to find out what that was. But I say that to say this. About a year later, I reached out to her. She actually took my message, responded back to me. It was favorably. We started texting and so forth, and we started. I bet we text probably for almost another year before I actually saw her face to face. Once I saw her face to face, though, it was exactly about 5 months, 6 months. I proposed to her. So it doesn't take long for a guy, it seems, because it seems like all of our stories are pretty close in the time frame from the time we started dating them or conversing with them to the time that we actually proposed to them.
Yeah, once we made a decision, it was done from there. It was like,
yeah,
it's what we talking about? You know, how are we gonna get this done?
no doubt. Now,
Yeah, ain't no time wasting. No time wasting.
Here's a question for you. What did you see in your wife that you didn't see in who you were dating before your wife, other than her heart?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing that come off for me was her realness. Like a lot of times when you dating somebody or you meet somebody, you kind of meet their representative. They send all of the right things, and you know what I'm saying, they made up this it's everything that they think you want to hear or see. And this time it was like she didn't hold no punches. It was like, this is who I am, just like take it or leave it. And I took it. It was because I liked what she was giving, but it was real. It wasn't. We were able. She laughed at my corny jokes. I'm like, okay, we on something. We on to something. If you think I'm funny, that's a good start. She was the right height, so it was all of these things that I had been, considering, and I didn't want. And the same thing. I could be real with her. She could be real with me, and that was, to me, that was the bottom, the signature to the statement of, okay, yeah, this is way different. And so, our relationship was built on that, us being honest with each other up front and not masking ourselves or trying to be what we think the other person wants, but just being who we genuinely are. And I've learned to appreciate and love that about her. So even as I still learning her, I know, okay, this is genuinely who she is. This is not somebody she's trying to be, or she's not trying to, appear to be something. Like, this is who she is. And so I can take it at face value. So that was the thing for me.
Wow.
Out of us three, and out of all our marriages and how we met our wives, mine a little different because, like I said, I didn't get a chance to meet Davina until I had to fly here to meet her in person.
Yeah.
But I tell you, what made the difference was it was the heart was the first thing because that's what I was talking to God about was the heart. I didn't see her like how she looked yet. It's almost like when it's almost like when you was I was like blinded to how she really looked until the one time it was almost like God said, "Man, would you open up your eyes?" Like, look. And when I saw, I was like, "Man, this woman is she's beautiful." And I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, "This woman is pretty." But all the time we were talking, like Mike said, I saw how genuine she was. I saw how loving and kind she was. I saw she wasn't trying to be something she wasn't. And I remember saying to her, I said, just be yourself because I'm going to be myself. So I need you to be yourself because this is what I have to offer you. And it was the same thing. She had what she had to offer. And like Mike said, took up on offer. I was like, I'm taking the offer. I'm gonna go for it. And then when I met her in person, man, it was for my first initial thought when I saw her at that airport. I remember I said this to her. I said, Lord, I'm in trouble because this woman is just way too pretty. She is so pretty. I don't know why. Wow. And from there, when we started hanging out and things like that, she actually I asked her for like itinerary. I said I like to know what I'm doing because I'm like the surprise guy. I don't really care too much for surprises. I said I need to know what we're doing or what have you. Just plan some stuff. But I planned one day, but I told her to plan the rest of them, and she did. And she was just being who she was. And I found myself saying, this is it." Because she is straight real. It was nothing fake about what she was saying, nothing fake about what she was doing. She didn't come off or try to pretend or anything like that. She was actually open and honest. And I told my story when first had proposed to her and was how she did and how everything happened. Um, it was amazing how she was just so genuine, so genuine, like straight up and not afraid to say it. Not afraid to say anything, and it was amazing. But she had that tender love and care for your brother. She has it.
No doubt. You know, with me, what I saw about Jill was, first of all, as we dated or as we spent time together, it was actually during the pandemic. So everything was shut down. So I couldn't impress her by trying to take her to fancy restaurants or expensive places. She couldn't impress me by doing those things. We did a lot of cooking for one another, ordering and having things delivered. You know, we had to spend time like outside at the parks and walking trails and things because, again, nothing was open. We spent a lot of time watching TV and just conversing. So, but what I loved about her, because I believe, honestly, I fell in love with her before I saw her. So when I drove up to see her for the first time, I was nervous because I wasn't sure what she thought about me. I knew I was already crazy for her. But what I saw in her when we met wasn't just her heart, but I saw her vulnerable. And that really was exciting for me. That was like, okay. I know she's real because she will look, she don't hold her tongue to nobody. She gonna tell you exactly what's on her mind. So what you see is what you get. And to be honest, that's how I am. I wear my feelings on my shoulders. If I don't like something, you're gonna know it just by looking at my facial expression. But yeah, I think just the vulnerability of her, almost like I could see she was in uncharted territory to a point, and that was really huge for me. but she has a heart of gold. She give anything she got to anybody. She help anybody with anything they got going on, even to the point of her not having for herself sometimes. So, but yeah, it was, I believe I was already head over heels for her before I even seen her for the first time.
I think it's the last question.
And so
one last question. Are they any good men?
I got one last question. And this right here, you can answer this in whatever way you see fit. Do real men exist? That's the question. Do real men exist?
What's
You get a comment from here.
the question? What are you looking at? What do you mean by real men?
Yeah, it came probably from
Like, what do you mean about real men? Explain that one. I want to know the depth of that question. Like, what do you mean by real men?
We're looking in the chat to see if there's any.
I think people are just. I think these women are. They're tired, and I think it came from a person who, basically, it probably was sarcastic.
Okay, so it's a couple things. I think it's a combination. I think there are a lot of women on here that have been, looking for marriage, haven't found anyone, of no one has found them that led to marriage. So I think a lot of women are tired. I think a lot of them are frustrated. I think they don't think that a lot of them don't think that there are a lot of good men left. I think that they feel they're competing in arenas that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. And so,
Terence,
with
you know
that
what?
being said, I'm kind of, hypothetically coming up with some stuff of my own to try to figure out if that's what it is. But so I would say my answer to this question is yes, there is. Yes, they do. I think they do. I just think that you also have to realize that they're not perfect.
Yeah.
They
No,
exist.
they're
They
not
just aren't perfect.
Not perfect. No, not perfect. But what do you mean by real man? You're talking about men who love God and who's a real Christian type guy, or what are we talking about? Because there is nobody that's perfect. Everybody
Right.
has something that needs to be worked on. So you're looking for somebody that's real. I mean, if you can feel them, you can see them, you can touch them. That means they're real. But we don't know what goes on the inside of people. We don't know where they come from. We don't know what's happening with them and things like that. And furthermore, women shouldn't be looking for no men. That's one thing. We are to find our brides because we who finds a wife find the good thing, not the wife finding the man find the good thing. We find the good thing because the women carries the favor. We going after the favor. We going after her. We looking for her. She shouldn't be looking for a husband.
I'll answer a little bit differently. And I'll start off by simply saying yes. I believe, it's three men on this call, that's, speaking from our experience. And I don't believe that any of us got to being the men that we are. And I think I can speak for us all saying that I believe that we all believe that we're real men. But as Kevin said, none of us are perfect, but also none of us got to being the men that we are alone. Like
Right.
we've had to see other men, and their imperfections, learn from them. I believe I heard you talking to, your cousin that was a mentor. So it's, real men exist, and some of them, are like diamonds in the rough. Meaning, they not. Some of them is hiding in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, some good men are available and they exist, but they need a little refining. And so again, I consider myself a real man, but I don't take credit for being the man that I am, as if I did it all myself, as if, you know, I woke up like this, or, you know, I got here, you know, because I'm just that good. I'm just that great. It's like, no, you know, it's by the grace of God, first of all. Second of all, you know, I've had to have men in my life like you, Terence, and you, Kevin, that keep me accountable. I've had to have, you know, I've had to stumble. I've had to fall. I've had to make some mistakes. And so I think part of being a real man is, one, accountability, responsibility, and you know, just being relatable. Like, again, I don't know the person that asked the question what their view is, but I think in seeing a man that they can relate to, that they can learn from, that they can grow with, whether it's a romantic relationship or just a relationship, I think is important. But yeah, definitely, real men exist. And a lot of it is perception too, right? Like, you can perceive somebody to be just like Mary J. You can perceive somebody to be whoever you want them to be, because if your objective is just to be happy, then, you know, you meet somebody, they look good, but they may not be good for you. And so I think we have to be careful in searching for a real man, or asking the question, does a real man exist? Well, with I'll end by saying this, and we talked about this in the relationship where God showed me, a real man exists in the one that you help create.
That's a powerful end. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna ask this question here as a something for us to give, for them to take away. Okay. What advice will you give men who are still in a place of not wanting to be hurt again? What advice would you give a man or give men that are in a place that's still not wanting to get hurt again? So these guys, if I can clarify what I think this is, or what it means, is these guys may have been divorced already, and they doing their thing however they doing it, but they're shying away from relationships that may lead into marriage. What could we give them collectively that would benefit those guys?
Well, I guess I'll go first again. The first thing I say is just look, man, take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a rush. I think we've all talked about getting to know ourselves better, understanding our own truth, what works for us, and what may work for you may not work for everybody. But you'll never know that if you never know that. And sometimes you just got to take the time to get to know who you are and what you want. I'll end by saying this. When I played football in high school, I had never played organized football before. And one of the fears you have of playing or doing anything is, well, with football specifically, is getting hit. And so I was brave enough. There was a drill that took place, and I stepped out in the drill. I was a freshman. I was going up against a senior, and the goal was for me to get past him. He was defense, I was offense, and he flattened me, literally. Here, I started off here. I ended up here, and after that, I got back up. I dusted myself off. I looked around. I was like, all right, I'm okay. It wasn't as bad as I thought. And I continued to pursue the game of football, and I loved it. Hitting was a part of the sport. It's a part of the sport. It's a part of the game. In this love game of life, it's hurting is a part of it. Even when you find that one, you find yourself getting hurt sometimes. So it's like you can't be afraid to get hurt. It's a part of it. But what you realize in getting hurt, when it's with the right person, when it's the right way, you learn from it, you grow from it, and you keep going. Like, I landed flat on my back. I got hit. I wasn't afraid to get hit anymore because I realized I survived it. It didn't kill me. I didn't die. And I can get up. I can get it hit again. I could take it. And then I learned how to apply the hit. I learned how to be the hitter. And so I'm not saying that you want to, in relationships, do what you can to hurt somebody. But I think you can be, you can find some resilience. You can find a way to know that what you're afraid to do, you'll never attempt to do it, and so you'll never know if you don't attempt it. And so that was my experience with explaining the football thing. I attempted it, and I learned from it that I would be okay. And so I say to that person, hey, you'll be okay. Hurting is a part of it, and don't be afraid to be hurt. And just know that if it ever happens, you survived it before, you could survive it again. But it's a part of growth. It's a part of learning. And I don't think it's something that you can avoid or get away from and then consider yourself as growing. Like it's a part of growth.
Somebody put in the chat, that's a beautiful analogy. So also
Okay, dope.
answer, Kevin, how would you like to respond to that?
As Mike was talking, I think it's a good analogy. I don't know why I just kept thinking about dodgeball. Dodgeball. Dodgeball, you don't want to get hit. You try to stay away from that ball. You try to do not. I'm telling you.
Keyword is dodge. You're dodging the ball.
That's it. So, that's what they're doing. We're dodging. I'm just going to say something, my brothers. Listen to this. Brothers that's listening. There's you out there. And I just want to let you know something. Just because your marriage ended, it doesn't mean that your capacity to love again ended.
Mm.
Because you still have the capacity to love again. Do not let the shame, the embarrassment, or any of that stuff decide your future, especially your future bride to be. Because you want to love again, right? And a lot of men get silent. Do not go silent because it isolates you. You go silent, you don't say anything. A lot of men hold that stuff in, and it can be damaging, right? And don't let anybody tell you, my brothers, don't let nobody tell you that God is really done with you because he's still restoring. He's still writing your story. He's a redeemer. He's a savior. And he still has something for you. It's not over. Not by a long shot. You still got breath in your lungs. You still breathing. You still moving. You still have your health. It's not over. It's not over. Think about it. This is not about, we're talking about how we came to this pretty fast and how God worked on us. It may not be the same for you. Maybe be even quicker for you. We don't know. You don't know. But don't give up on love. Don't give up on love. It's about being a loving father to kids, or being under the umbrella of our loving father. He taught us how to love. We lean on him to show us how to love. Because he didn't give up on us. He ain't giving up on love, so why should we? This ain't about how we can love so quickly and get back into it. Let this thing be healthy. Grow healthy in him. Learn more about him and what he wants to do with you. Just put in that time to grow and draw closer to him so he can show you the new way of loving, the new love, your new bride, at the time that he had for you.
That's good.
Let's live again in a healthy way.
That's a powerful answer right there. And so here's what I want to do. Before we close this out, I want to ask the audience, all of you that's in the chat, I want to ask all of you, we are the brothers. We want to know, do you want to hear from us again? What men think about relationships, what men think about getting married, what men think, and opening up the conversation between men and women and bridging this gap. So do y'all want to hear the brothers again? Would you like it also in a private setting or in an open forum like this? Or and even to the point of saying how often you would like to hear from the brothers. Would y'all like us to get together and schedule something, once a month? Would you like us to get together and schedule something, every other week? Tell us what you want.
They are coming in the private room. So they're coming yes.
We're getting a lot of yeses, gentlemen. We're getting a lot of yeses.
Cool.
And
I'd love to hear from the men. They said frequently.
they're saying frequently. They're saying
at least once a month.
at least once a month, open forum. Yeah.
Public. Okay, yeah, they said public.
So yeah, they want something like this at least once a month.
They say monthly. Somebody said every other week. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're saying yes, absolutely, once a week.
Is this the brothers talking? Is this the brothers who want this? Terrence, is this
Is there any
the
brothers on here? Is there any men on here? Tell us what you want.
We love you, sisters. We love you. But we want to know if any of the brothers want more of this. Because I know y'all there.
Yeah. Can divide their questions, open forum twice a month. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It said, every other week, every week, every month. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get together and we're going to come up with a schedule that we feel our three personal lives.
The brother said, yes, I'm a brother. I will love every other week.
Okay. There's a brother that says, I'm a brother. I would love it every other week.
Nice. Okay. Yes, sir.
So what we're going to do to get started is we will actually, put something on the calendar to where every other week the brothers get together and we'll have some topics, but we're going to be really open forum for you all to tell us what you want to hear, what you want to talk about, and y'all can control the topics just by participating in the chats. Let us know what you want. And we're going to get this thing rolling to where we can open up some conversation. And prayerfully, we're going to invite more men as we learn who they are and get them more here so they can start to share their perspectives and where they are and what they think. And so we can get a lot of the questions answered, between the men and women that are looking for each other and missing. And so we're gonna initiate this thing, and we're gonna see what God do with it. We're gonna leave it up to the Lord and let the Holy Spirit take it where it's gonna go.
I see somebody on here who is at to be undone. Can we send in questions for the brothers? They want to know if they can send in questions.
Yes, they can do that right now. You can go to the website that a God-ordained union. You also can go to, if you want to ask a question to them individually. Do y'all see their channels, or did y'all put y'all's channel in the chat? You definitely can send it to a God-ordained union, and I can get that to them for those.
I know my wife's still awake.
Yeah.
What time is it here? It's like 11:30 p.m. my time right now. And my wife, I know she's listening. She can put our channel in the chat. I'm trying to do it here as well. But we are Speaking to Life with the Browns, and you can email us questions or what have you there if you like. You can email us.
Yeah, you also can send it to a God-ordained union, or send it to go to our website, send it there, and put the questions for the brothers, and I'll make sure I relay it to them, so we all can get a chance to look at it and have a response ready for you. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody that participated. I want to thank my guests, the brothers, Mike and Kevin. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody that spent this evening with us, and know that you all are loved by each and every one of us, and we're praying for you, and we look so forward to seeing you guys in our next one.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
But then they're still in. Did you